What happened when the person you loved? I never thought love could vanish in front of my eyes like smoke. One moment, he was everything, my anchor, my best friend, my reason to breathe. The next, he was a stranger staring at me across the dinner table with eyes I didn't recognize. It started with small things. His laugh changed first. The sound that used to bubble out of him like a shared secret became something sharp, hollow. He'd laugh at shows we once watched together, but it didn't reach his eyes. I told myself he was just tired, that stress from work was weighing on him. But deep down, a whisper began scratching at me. Something's wrong. We'd been together nearly 7 years. That kind of love builds a rhythm, a comfort. I could finish his sentences, predict his moods before he spoke. But then silence moved in between us. At night, he'd stay up scrolling on his phone, his face lit ghostly blue. When I asked what he was reading, he'd smile too quickly and say, "Just news." His phone used to sit charging on the nightstand. Now it never left his side. Even in the shower, I'd hear the lock click as he brought it with him. I told myself I was paranoid. People change, couples go through phases. But then came the night he came home late, hours later than usual. His shirt smelled faintly of perfume, one I didn't wear. My chest tightened, but I forced a smile. "Traffic bad?" I asked. "Yeah, long day," he muttered, dropping his keys harder than necessary. No hug, no kiss, just silence thick enough to choke me. The next morning, I woke up to find him watching me. Not in the sweet, soft way he used to. His gaze was cold, almost studying me. When he realized I was awake, he smiled. Too wide, too forced. "You were talking in your sleep," he said. His voice was flat, like he was reporting a fact. "What did I say?" I asked. He shrugged. "Didn't make sense. Just names." I hadn't been dreaming of anyone. I wanted to ask him more, but something in his tone froze me, like he wanted to make me doubt myself. The distance grew fast after that. Conversations that once flowed like rivers now ended in dead ends. He stopped touching me. No casual hand on my back, no kiss on the forehead, nothing. And yet sometimes I'd wake in the middle of the night and feel his eyes on me, watching, silent, unmoving. I confided in my sister Mia. "He's different," I whispered over coffee. "It's like someone swapped him out for a lookalike." She frowned, concern tightening her features. "Do you think he's cheating?" I shook my head. Cheating would almost have been easier to understand. This was something else, something darker. Then came the first real crack. It was a Saturday, our usual grocery day. As we walked the aisles, I noticed him staring, fixated on a young woman picking out fruit. He didn't blink, didn't even flinch when I said his name. When she turned and met his gaze, he smiled. Not the shy, reserved smile I fell in love with. No, it was hungry. I grabbed his arm. "What the hell was that?" "What?" he asked, blinking at me like I was crazy. "You were staring at her." He tilted his head, eyes narrowing. "Are you sure? You've been imagining things lately." Imagining. The word lodged deep in my chest, like he was rewriting my reality in front of me. That night, I confronted him. "Tell me what's going on. You're not the same." For a moment, his mask slipped. His face hardened, his jaw clenched. Maybe I just got tired of pretending. Pretending what? My voice shook. He smiled. That stranger's smile. That "I'm not who you think I am." My stomach dropped. I tried to laugh it off, call it a bad joke, but he didn't laugh with me. He just stared, calm and unblinking, like he was daring me to push further. Later, while he showered, I picked up his phone. For the first time in years, the lock code didn't work. Wrong. 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 I felt ice creep through my veins. He had changed it. He had locked me out. And then I noticed something chilling. His phone wallpaper, once a picture of us on the beach, was now completely black. Just a void. When he came out, towel around his waist, he saw me holding the phone. His smile vanished. He crossed the room in 3 steps, yanked it from my hand, and whispered in a tone I'd never heard before. "Don't ever touch my phone again." I froze. Because it wasn't a warning. It was a threat. And for the first time since I met him, I felt afraid of the man I loved. Fear changes the way you see everything. The next morning, I poured his coffee the same way I always did, but my hands shook. I was afraid he'd notice, afraid he'd ask. But he didn't. He just sipped, silent, his eyes fixed on something far away. I told myself I was overreacting, that couples fight, that paranoia destroys trust. But then he leaned back in his chair, still staring into that distance, and said, "You don't sleep well anymore, do you?" I froze. He hadn't been asleep. He'd been watching me. "How do you know that?" I asked carefully. He smiled, without looking at me. "I hear things." A chill raced down my spine. I forced a laugh. "You mean me tossing and turning?" Finally, he looked at me. His eyes didn't blink. "No. Other things." I didn't ask what he meant. I couldn't. That day, I cleaned the house just to keep busy, but every time I passed the bedroom, I had the urge to check his drawers, his closet, his phone. My instincts screamed at me to find answers, but the memory of his voice, low, sharp, warning, stopped me. By evening, I was unraveling. I sat on the porch steps, head in my hands, when Mia called. "You sound awful," she said. "I don't know who he is anymore." "Do you want me to come over?" I almost said yes. God, I wanted to. But I pictured his reaction if I found me confiding in her. The thought made my stomach twist. "Not yet," I whispered. "Just stay close." That night, something happened I can't explain. I woke to the sound of footsteps in the hall. Not unusual. He often went to the kitchen for water, but when I turned over, I saw his side of the bed was still occupied. He was lying beside me, asleep. The footsteps kept going. Slow, heavy. I bolted upright. My breath caught in my throat. I shook his shoulder. "Did you hear that?" His eyes opened instantly, like he hadn't been asleep. He stared at me, wide awake, too awake. "What did you hear?" "Someone's in the house." He smiled faintly. "No one's here but us." "But—" "Shh." He pressed a finger to my lips. "Go back to sleep." And then, as if on cue, the footsteps stopped. The silence was suffocating. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, he acted like nothing happened. He hummed while making breakfast, scrambled eggs sizzling in the pan. When he slid the plate in front of me, I noticed something. His phone sat unlocked on the counter. My pulse raced. It was my chance. While he rinsed the pan at the sink, I reached for it. My hand trembled. The screen glowed with a notes app open. Just words, line after line, typed, obsessively. She doesn't know. She's starting to notice. She needs to stop asking questions. I swallowed hard. My throat burned. Before I could scroll further, his hand slammed down over mine. Hard. Too hard. "Didn't I tell you not to touch my phone?" His voice was low, controlled, but his grip shook with restrained rage. I was just... His eyes narrowed. "You don't trust me anymore." I tried to pull my hand back, but he held tighter, fingers digging into my skin. Finally, he let go, smiling again, like nothing happened. "You should eat before it gets cold," he said softly. I stared at the eggs, my stomach twisting, bile rising. I couldn't take a single bite. From that moment, the house didn't feel like home anymore. Every room felt foreign, like it belonged to him and I was just a trespasser. I found myself jumping at small noises, checking behind doors, locking the bathroom when I showered. But the worst part was his kindness. He'd suddenly bring home flowers, cook my favorite meals, kiss my cheek in front of neighbors. To everyone else, he looked like the perfect partner, loving, thoughtful, devoted. But I knew better. I'd seen the darkness behind his smile. 2 nights later, I discovered something that shattered me. I couldn't sleep, so I wandered into the living room. His phone was on the coffee table. I couldn't help myself. My hands moved before my brain could stop them. Somehow, this time, it unlocked. There were photos, dozens of them, all of me, sleeping, brushing my hair, cooking, reading, moments I never knew he was watching. But some weren't taken in our house. One showed me at the grocery store, talking to the cashier. Another was me walking to Mia's car. A third, my blood ran cold, was me sleeping at Mia's house weeks ago, when she invited me over after a fight. He'd been following me. Even when he wasn't supposed to be there, he was watching. I dropped the phone in shock, the sound echoing in the quiet room. And then I heard his voice behind me. Calm. Steady. "Why are you looking through my things at 3 in the morning?" I spun around, heart slamming against my ribs. He stood in the hallway, half in shadow, eyes locked on mine. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't living with the man I loved. I was living with a stranger who knew everything about me. I couldn't speak. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. He stood there in the dim light, his face unreadable, not angry, not sad, just empty. "You don't trust me," he said again, softer this time, like it was a confession instead of an accusation. My pulse hammered. Why do you have those photos?" He tilted his head, as if the question itself was absurd. "Because you're mine." I stumbled back a step. "Mine?" He moved forward, slow, deliberate, every step measured. When you love someone, you keep them safe. You keep them close. "That's not love," I whispered. He smiled faintly. "Then what is it?" My knees felt weak. I wanted to scream, to run, but I was frozen in place. He stopped just inches away, his breath warm against my cheek. "You don't see it now. But one day, you'll understand. I can't lose you." I pushed past him and fled upstairs, locking myself in the bedroom. My hands shook so badly I could barely turn the key. He didn't follow. I heard him laugh quietly before walking away. That night, I lay awake in bed, clutching my phone, debating whether to call Mia or the police. But what would I even say? My boyfriend takes pictures of me without my knowledge. He follows me. He stares at strangers in the grocery store. Would they believe me? Or would he spin it like he always did? The truth was, I was scared they'd dismiss me, and then he'd find out. By morning, he acted as if nothing had happened. He made pancakes, humming under his breath, kissing the top of my head like the perfect partner. I forced a smile, though my insides were shaking. I decided then I needed proof, something undeniable. Over the next week, I started taking notes. Every strange phrase he whispered, every night I caught him watching me, every photo I found. I hid the notebook in my bag, carrying it everywhere. One night, I found him sitting in the dark living room, lights off, just staring out the window. "What are you doing?" I asked cautiously. His voice was flat. "Waiting." "For what?" He didn't answer. Later, when he finally came to bed, I pretended to sleep. I felt the mattress dip, his body close to mine. His lips brushed my ear as he whispered, "Don't leave me. I won't let you." The next morning, I caught him on the phone. He was in the garage, voice low but urgent. "No, she doesn't suspect. Not yet." When I stepped closer, the door creaked. He turned instantly, his smile snapping back on like a mask. "Just work," he said lightly, slipping the phone into his pocket. I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded. "Sure." But my heart pounded. Who was he talking to? What didn't I suspect? That evening, Mia called again. "You sound worse every day. You need to get out, even if it's just for the night. Come stay with me." I almost agreed, but then I saw him in the doorway, listening, smiling faintly. My throat tightened. "Maybe later," I told her quickly. He stepped closer, kissed my cheek. "She worries about you," he murmured. That night, I decided to test him. I told him I had to work late the next day, though I didn't. I wanted to see what he'd do. I parked a block away from the house, waiting, watching. Hours passed. At first, nothing. Then I saw him leave, hood up, moving fast, glancing around like he was being watched. He got in his car and drove. I followed. My hands trembled on the steering wheel as I trailed him across town. He parked near a cafe. Through the window, I saw him sit with a woman I didn't recognize. Young, blonde, nervous. He leaned close to her, his expression soft, tender, the same way he used to look at me. My stomach dropped. But then, I froze. He pulled out his phone and showed her something. She recoiled slightly, shaking her head. He reached across the table, touching her hand. She pulled back. He smiled, that same cold smile he gave me. I snapped a photo from my car, my hands shaking. Proof. I finally had proof. But as I raised the phone for another shot, his eyes suddenly flicked to the window and straight to me. Our gazes locked. I ducked, heart racing, fumbling to start the engine. My whole body screamed to run, but before I could pull away, my phone buzzed. A text. From him. "Why are you following me?" My vision blurred. He knew. He always knew. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't the one watching him. He'd been watching me all along. My hands shook so violently I nearly dropped the phone. The message glowed on the screen. "Why are you following me?" I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Somehow he'd seen me. Maybe he'd known all along. Maybe this was another game he was playing. I floored the gas and sped away, headlights slicing through the night. My pulse hammered in my throat. I didn't stop until I was in a crowded parking lot, surrounded by strangers. Only then did I let the sobs come. When I finally made it home, his car was already in the driveway. He was faster. Always faster. Inside, he was waiting in the living room, calm, relaxed, like nothing had happened. "Rough night?" he asked casually, sipping a glass of water. I swallowed hard. Where did you go? He tilted his head, smiling faintly. Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing. The room spun. My legs felt weak. Don't play with me, I whispered. Play? His eyes narrowed, gleaming with something unreadable. I don't play. I protect. That's what you don't understand. I wanted to scream, to demand the truth. Instead, I escaped upstairs, locked the door, and slid down against it, shaking. That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the house made my chest tighten. At one point, I swore I heard the doorknob rattle, but when I jumped up, heart in my throat, nothing moved. By morning, he was cheerful again. He kissed my cheek as if nothing had happened, packed my lunch, and even tucked a little note inside like he used to when we first dated. Thinking of you. The whiplash made me dizzy. One moment he was a stranger, the next he was the man I fell in love with. Which version was real? At work, I showed Mia the photos on my phone, the ones of him with the blonde girl. She gasped. Oh my God, you have to go to the police. I shook my head. He'll deny it. He'll say it's just a friend. You don't know how convincing he is, Mia. People believe him. She grabbed my hand. Then stay with me tonight, please. I promised I would, but when I got home to pack a bag, I found something on the kitchen table that made my blood run cold. A single photograph. Printed. Me, sitting in my car outside the cafe the night before. On the back, in his handwriting, "Don't follow me again." My knees nearly gave out. He hadn't just seen me, he'd planned for me to see that he saw me. I shoved clothes into a bag with shaking hands, my heart pounding. He couldn't know I was leaving, not yet. But as I zipped it shut, his voice floated from the doorway. Going somewhere? I spun around. He leaned against the frame, casual, hands in his pockets, like he'd been watching me the whole time. I was just going to Mia's, I stammered. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Why would you do that when you have everything you need right here? I tried to walk past him, but he stepped in front of me, blocking the way. Mia worries too much. She puts ideas in your head. Bad ones. I need space, I whispered. His jaw clenched. Space? He leaned in close, so close I could feel his breath on my skin. There's no space between us. Not anymore. I forced myself not to flinch. Move. For a long, terrifying moment, I thought he wouldn't. Then he smiled again and stepped aside. Go ahead. Run to her. See if it makes a difference. I grabbed my bag and bolted. At Mia's, I locked the doors, shut every curtain, and told her everything. The photos, the messages, the way he was changing. She looked horrified, but she believed me. She always had. You can't go back there, she said firmly. Promise me. I promised. But promises don't always matter. At 3 a.m., I woke to Mia shaking me. Her face was pale, her hands trembling. Look, she whispered, pointing at the window. There, in the faint glow of the streetlight, stood his car, parked across the street, engine off, headlights dark. He was watching. Mia grabbed her phone. I'm calling the cops. But before she could, her phone buzzed with a new message from an unknown number. She showed me the screen. My stomach dropped. It was a photo of the two of us, asleep on the couch, taken just hours earlier. He was already inside. Mia's hand shook so badly she almost dropped the phone. The photo glared up at us, Grainy, taken in the dark, but unmistakable. Us, asleep on her couch. My heart slammed against my ribs. He was here, I whispered, my throat dry. He was inside the house. Mia's eyes darted around the room, wide with terror. But the doors were locked. I checked them twice. I staggered to the window, peering through the blinds. His car still sat across the street, unmoving like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. Mia pressed 911 on her phone. My hand shot out, stopping her. "No," I hissed. "What do you mean, no?" she snapped. "You don't understand. If the police come and they don't take this seriously, he'll know it. He'll make me pay for it." She stared at me like I'd lost my mind. "He already broke into my house. He's stalking you. What more do you need?" I shook my head, panic surging. "He's too careful. He hides it from everyone else. What if they don't believe us? What if they say it's not enough?" Mia's voice cracked. "So what, we just sit here and let him do this?" I didn't have an answer. The rest of the night we stayed awake. Every creak of the house made us jump. His car eventually disappeared, but that didn't bring comfort. It only made it worse, because now we didn't know where he was. In the morning, Mia begged me to go to the police. I promised her I'd think about it, but inside I knew I couldn't. Not yet. I needed undeniable proof, something no one could dismiss. So, I made a plan. I'd go back to the house, to him. Mia nearly screamed when I told her, "Are you insane? He's dangerous." "I know," I said quietly, "but he doesn't know that I know everything. If I act normal, I can find more. Photos, messages, anything." Her face crumpled in fear. "He's going to hurt you." I swallowed hard. "Maybe, but I can't live like this, Mia. Always looking over my shoulder. I need this to end." That night, I returned home. The moment I opened the door, the air felt heavy, oppressive, like walking into a trap. He was waiting in the kitchen, a glass of wine in hand, smiling like nothing had ever happened. "Back already?" he asked, his tone almost playful. I forced a smile. "Yeah, just needed to clear my head." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. I was starting to think you didn't want to be here anymore." My chest tightened, but I kept my voice steady. "Of course I do." Over the next few days, I played my part. I laughed at his jokes, kissed him goodnight, pretended everything was normal, all while secretly combing through his things when he left the room. I found more photos, more notes, whole journals filled with his handwriting, pages of thoughts about me, obsessive, possessive, terrifying. She belongs here. She doesn't see yet, but she will. No one else can have her. And then, one entry that froze my blood. "If she tries to leave again, I'll make sure she can't." I snapped a photo of the page with my phone, hands trembling. That was it. Proof. Evidence. Enough to finally show someone. But before I could hide my phone, I heard footsteps in the hall. The door creaked open. He stood there, watching me. "What are you doing?" My throat went dry. "Just cleaning." His eyes flicked to the journal on the desk, then to my phone in my hand. His smile disappeared. "Give it to me." I clutched it tighter. "It's mine. Now." His voice was sharp, commanding. My heart raced. I shook my head. "No." For a moment, silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Then slowly, he stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. "You shouldn't have done that," he said softly. I backed away, my phone clutched like a weapon. "Stay away from me." He took another step forward, eyes dark, jaw clenched. You don't get it, do you? You're mine. You've always been mine. My hand fumbled for the doorknob, but he lunged, grabbing my wrist, squeezing so hard I gasped in pain. The phone slipped from my hand, clattering to the floor. He snatched it up in an instant, his smile returning, cold and triumphant. You don't need this anymore. And then, right before my eyes, he pressed a button, deleted everything. Every photo, every note, gone. My last chance at proof, wiped away in seconds. I felt something inside me break. And as he slipped my phone into his pocket, leaning close enough for his breath to brush my ear, he whispered the words that would haunt me forever. You can't leave. Not now. Not ever. His whisper burned in my ear like acid. Not now. Not ever. I wanted to scream, to claw my way out of the room, but my body betrayed me. I stood frozen as his hand lingered on my wrist just long enough to remind me he was in control. When he finally let go, I stumbled back, clutching my arm where his grip had left red marks. He smiled again, calm, casual, like he hadn't just stolen every shred of proof I had. You're tired, he said softly, brushing a strand of hair from my face. Let's get some rest. I wanted to hit him. I wanted to shove him away, but instead, I nodded. Because what else could I do? That night, I lay in bed beside him, eyes wide open, forcing my breaths to stay slow and even, pretending to sleep. Every time I shifted even slightly, I felt his gaze on me, watching in the dark. By morning, he was humming again, making breakfast, as if the night before had never happened. The normalcy was worse than the threats. It made me question my own sanity. But I knew the truth. I was a prisoner, and no one else saw it. Mia called that afternoon. I answered in the bathroom with the shower running, praying he couldn't hear. Are you okay? She whispered. No, I choked. He found everything. The notes, the photos, he deleted them all. Her sharp inhale cut through the static. You can't stay there. Pack your things and come here. Tonight. I'll drive to get you if I have to. Tears burned in my eyes. Mia, he watches everything. If I move wrong, he'll know. Then we go to the police together. Screw what they believe. You have me. You're not alone. I pressed a hand over my mouth, muffling my sob. I'll try. But when I stepped out of the bathroom, he was standing right there. How's Mia? He asked lightly, his smile too wide. My stomach dropped. Had he heard? Did he know? She's fine, I whispered, forcing a smile. He leaned close, his voice low. You tell her too much. Friends have a way of ruining things. That night, I couldn't stop shaking. Every sound, every glance from him felt like a warning. I knew he was tightening his grip, piece by piece, and I was running out of time. The next day, I made a choice. I told Mia to meet me at a cafe in town, somewhere public, crowded, somewhere he couldn't twist things in the dark. I said I was running errands. He nodded, kissed my cheek, and told me to be safe. At the cafe, I poured everything out to Mia. The photos, the notes, the break-in, the threat. My hands shook the entire time. People around us sipped coffee, laughed, tapped on laptops, completely unaware that my world was unraveling. Mia grabbed my hand across the table. We're going to the police, right now. You're not going back there. I wanted to believe her, to believe that leaving was that simple. But then, I saw him. Through the cafe window, sitting in his car, watching. Mia, I whispered, my face draining of color. She turned, saw him too, and cursed under her breath. He followed you. I shook my head violently. He always follows me. We stayed put, pretending to chat, hoping maybe he'd drive away. But he didn't. He just sat there, staring, like a shadow that never left. When I finally went home that night, because I had no choice, I found something waiting for me on the bed. A small velvet box. Inside was a silver necklace. Beautiful. Perfect. The kind of gift I once would have cried happy tears over. But now, it felt like a collar. A note lay beneath it, written in his careful, steady handwriting. You don't need anyone else. You never did. My stomach twisted. I shoved the box back into the drawer, my hands trembling. He appeared in the doorway, smiling, watching my reaction. Do you like it? It's beautiful, I forced out, my voice hollow. Good, because you'll wear it. Always. So people know you're mine. I wanted to rip it apart, to throw it in his face, but instead I nodded, because the truth was I wasn't strong enough yet. But as I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, a new thought clawed its way into my mind, something I hadn't let myself consider before. If he wouldn't let me leave, then maybe the only way out was to make him believe I loved him again, to play the game, until I could find a way to end it. I woke the next morning with a plan. My stomach churned with dread, but I forced a smile, practiced in the mirror until it looked almost real. If he wanted devotion, I'd give it to him. If he wanted control, I'd let him think he had it, at least until I could use it against him. At breakfast, I reached across the table, touched his hand lightly. I was thinking, maybe we should have a date night, just us. His eyes narrowed, suspicious at first, but then his smile spread slowly. That's a nice idea. Relief washed over me, though I didn't let it show. Dinner, maybe? Our old spot? He chuckled. You haven't suggested that in a long time. I leaned closer, lowering my voice to a whisper. I miss you. The truth was, every word tasted like poison, but he bought it. I saw the shift in his eyes, the suspicion fading, the satisfaction settling in. That evening, we dressed up. I wore the necklace he gave me, though it felt heavy, like chains dragging me down. He kissed my neck as he clasped it, his breath hot on my skin. Perfect, he murmured. At the restaurant, I played the role. I laughed at his jokes, touched his arm, even leaned against his shoulder, and for the first time in weeks, he seemed almost normal. But underneath, my mind worked nonstop. Every detail mattered. Every moment was an opportunity. When he excused himself to the bathroom, I grabbed his phone. For the first time, it was unlocked. My fingers flew. I searched messages, notes, photos. And there it was. Dozens of conversations with an unknown number. Messages that made my blood run cold. She's not ready yet. I'll keep her close until the time comes. No one else can interfere. Not even her sister. My chest tightened. Who was he talking to? What time was he waiting for? I snapped photo after photo with my phone, tucking it back just as he returned. He didn't notice. He slid back into his seat, smiling, reaching for my hand. You look beautiful tonight, he said. Thank you, I whispered, forcing the words past the lump in my throat. After dinner, he insisted we take a walk. The streets were quiet, lamplights spilling across the pavement. He wrapped an arm around my shoulders, pulling me close. To anyone else, we looked like the perfect couple. But inside, I was screaming. He leaned down, lips brushing my ear. See, we're good together again. I smiled weakly. We are. But inside, I clutched the photos on my phone like a lifeline. This was it. This was proof. That night, while he slept, I texted Mia the images with shaking hands. "Keep these safe. Don't tell anyone yet, just in case." Her reply came instantly. "Oh my God, come here now, please." But I couldn't. Not yet. If I disappeared again, he'd know. He'd tighten his grip. Instead, I lay awake, heart pounding, rehearsing my next steps. The following day, I made myself softer, sweeter. I laughed more, touched him more, told him how much I appreciated him. And it worked. He relaxed. His guard slipped. Until one moment changed everything. We were sitting on the couch, a movie playing, when his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, smirked, and slipped it into his pocket. I forced a casual tone. "Who's that?" "No one important," he said smoothly. "Work?" He shook his head, still smiling. "Just someone who understands." The words sent ice through my veins. Someone else. Someone who understands. I tried to breathe evenly, but my hands clenched into fists. "Can I see?" He laughed. "Why? Don't you trust me?" I forced a smile, shaking my head. "Of course I do." But inside, the panic grew. I wasn't just dealing with him anymore. There was someone else. Another shadow in the dark. Later that night, while he showered, I crept to the garage. My plan was simple: find anything I could, records, letters, anything physical. And then I saw it. A locked box on the shelf, hidden under old blankets. My hands shook as I tugged it free, heart hammering. I didn't have the key, but I didn't need it. I grabbed a hammer, pried until the lock snapped. Inside were stacks of photos. All of me, years worth, some from before we even met. My breath caught. My hands trembled as I flipped through them. Me walking to school, laughing with Mia, reading on my parents' porch. He'd been watching me long before I ever knew his name. A noise behind me made me spin, photos scattering across the garage floor. He stood in the doorway, watching. His smile was gone. "You weren't supposed to see those," he said, his voice low and dangerous. My blood ran cold. The photos slipped from my hands, scattering across the garage floor like broken glass. My breath hitched. My knees felt weak. He stepped closer, his face carved with something darker than anger. "You weren't supposed to see those," he repeated, each word slower, heavier, like a gavel hitting wood. My voice cracked. "How long?" He tilted his head, eyes locked on mine. "Since the beginning." I shook my head violently. "No, that's not possible. I didn't even know you then." He cut me off with a sharp laugh. "You think we met by accident? No, sweetheart. I chose you. I studied you. I waited for the right moment. And you fell right into place." The floor tilted beneath me. "You planned this?" I whispered. "Of course I did," he said, stepping closer, closing the distance between us. "I knew everything about you before you ever knew my name. Your favorite books, your routines, the people you trusted, every detail. And I made sure I became exactly what you wanted." My stomach twisted. My memories of us, the laughs, the late-night talks, the tenderness, all suddenly felt like illusions, scripts. "You were never real," I whispered. His eyes hardened. "I was real. I am real.
You just don't understand yet, but you will." I backed away, my foot catching on the box. I nearly fell, my hands flailing against the shelves. "This isn't love, it's obsession." His smile returned, cold, sharp. "What's the difference?" Before I could answer, he lunged forward. His hand clamped around my wrist, pulling me close, his grip bruising. I struggled, pushing against his chest, but he held firm. "You don't leave me, not after everything I've done for you." "Done for me?" I spat, my voice shaking with rage. "You've trapped me. You've lied to me. You've destroyed me." His expression flickered. Hurt, anger, something twisted all at once. Then it hardened. "I protected you from everyone else. They never deserved you. Only I did." I ripped my arm free, stumbling backward. His jaw clenched, his breathing sharp. For the first time, I saw something break in his eyes, a crack in his perfect mask, and it terrified me. Suddenly, his phone buzzed in his pocket. The sound cut through the tension like a blade. He froze, pulling it out, glancing at the screen. His lips curved into a faint smile. "It's time," he murmured. My stomach dropped. Time for what? He looked at me, eyes gleaming with something unhinged. "You'll see." Panic surged through me. I darted for the door, but he blocked me, slamming it shut with one hand. "Where do you think you're going?" "Get away from me," I screamed, shoving him. He barely moved. His smile widened, cruel now. "Do you know why I kept all those photos? Because I wanted to remember every moment before you belonged to me. And now? Now I don't need to remember anymore, because you're never leaving." I shook my head violently. "I will leave. I swear to God I will." His hand shot out, grabbing my chin, forcing me to look at him. His voice dropped to a chilling whisper. "Then maybe I need to make sure you can't." Terror ripped through me. I slammed my knee upward, connecting with his stomach. He grunted, loosening his grip just enough for me to break free. I bolted for the door, yanking it open, sprinting into the night.
My bare feet pounded the driveway, gravel biting into my skin, but I didn't stop. I tore down the street, heart hammering, lungs burning. Behind me, I heard his voice echo, calm but deadly. "You'll come back. You always do." I didn't look back. I ran until my chest ached, until I reached the corner store, lit by fluorescent lights, people milling about inside. I collapsed against the door, gasping, shaking. For a moment, I thought I was safe. Then my phone buzzed. A new message from him. It was a photo, taken just seconds earlier. Me, running down the street. My blood ran cold. He wasn't behind me. He was ahead, watching. And as the lights flickered above me, I realized I wasn't escaping him. I was running straight into his plan. The photo on my phone glared at me, proof that no matter how fast I ran, he was already there. My chest tightened, my vision blurred. I staggered inside the store, clutching my phone like a lifeline. A young cashier glanced up. "You okay?" I wanted to scream no, to beg for help, but the words caught in my throat. If he was out there, watching, listening, what would happen if I drew attention? What if it made him snap? "I'm fine," I whispered, forcing a shaky smile. I bought a bottle of water I didn't need, just to stay among people. My hands trembled so badly I nearly dropped the change. Every second felt like a countdown. I knew he was out there, waiting. When I finally stepped back into the night, the street was empty. Too empty. His car was gone. But that didn't make me safe. It only made me more exposed.
I ran again, this time not home, but to Mia's. I banged on her door until she flung it open, eyes wide. Jesus, what happened to you? He knows everything. He's watching me everywhere. I can't get away. She pulled me inside, locking every bolt, pulling every curtain. We're going to the police tonight. I don't care what you say. This is over. Her conviction steadied me. For the first time, I didn't argue. I nodded. Okay. We gathered everything we had, my photos of his messages, the journal page I'd managed to remember word for word, even the necklace he gave me, which now felt like evidence instead of a gift. But as we sat at her table, phones charging, preparing to leave, something rattled. The back door. We froze. The sound came again, soft, deliberate. Mia whispered, "He's here." I grabbed her arm. "Call the police." She fumbled with her phone, dialing, whispering into the receiver. I crept toward the kitchen, heart slamming. The door shook once more, then went still. The dispatcher promised an officer was on the way. We clung to each other, waiting, the silence stretching into eternity. Then, bang. The back door flew open. He stepped inside, calm as ever, as if he'd been invited. His eyes flicked between us, his smile slow, deliberate. "I told you not to run." Mia grabbed a knife from the counter, pointing it at him with trembling hands. "Get out. The police are coming." He chuckled, stepping closer. "You think they scare me? You think anyone can keep me away from her?" I backed against the wall, my voice cracking. "Please, just leave us alone." He ignored me, eyes fixed on Mia now. "You're the problem. You always have been. Filling her head with lies, making her doubt me." "Stay away from her." Mia snapped, her voice steadier than I expected. For a moment, the room hung on a knife's edge. His jaw clenched, his hand twitching at his side. I thought he might lunge, that the knife wouldn't be enough to stop him. Then, sirens. Red and blue lights flashed through the window, growing louder, closer. His face hardened.
"This isn't over," he hissed, eyes locking onto mine. And then, before the officers could reach the door, he bolted out the back, disappearing into the night. The police stormed in seconds later. We poured everything out, every detail, every photo, every message. I showed them the pictures I'd sent Mia, the journal entry I'd memorized, the threats, the break-ins. They listened, they took notes. But when I begged them to arrest him, their faces tightened. "We don't have enough yet," one said carefully. "Without physical evidence." "He broke into the house. He threatened her. He's been stalking her for months." The officer sighed. "We'll file a report. We'll put out a warning. But unless he does something bigger, there's only so much we can do." The words made my blood run cold. Something bigger. He was waiting for that. After they left, Mia sat beside me, trembling. "You're staying here. I don't care what he does. You're not going back." I nodded numbly, though inside fear gnawed at me, because I knew he wasn't gone. He was waiting, watching, planning. And sure enough, at 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. A message. From him. "You think they can protect you? You think she can save you? No one can. Tomorrow you'll see who I really am." My hands shook as I read it aloud. Mia's face went pale. "What does he mean?" she whispered. I swallowed hard, my stomach twisting into knots. "I don't know," I said, though deep down I did. Whatever mask he'd been wearing before, he was about to take it off. I didn't sleep at all. His message replayed in my head like a curse.
Tomorrow you'll see who I really am. Mia sat with me through the night, both of us too afraid to close our eyes. Every creak of the house made us jump. Every car passing outside had us clutching each other, waiting for the sound of his footsteps. By morning, I was raw with fear, but under the fear, something else was building: rage. I was tired of being hunted, tired of being afraid, tired of letting him win. I can't keep living like this, I told Mia, my voice shaking. He wants me trapped. He wants me broken. I won't let him. She grabbed my hands, her eyes fierce. Then we fight back. We use what we have. We catch him. And so we made a plan. That night, I would go back to the house. I'd wear a wire, Mia's idea, using a tiny recorder she borrowed from a friend. I'd provoke him, get him to admit everything. If he wanted me to see who he really was, I'd let him show it. And this time, it wouldn't disappear into shadows. This time, I'd have proof no one could deny. Mia begged me not to do it alone, but I knew I had to. He'd never let his mask slip if she was there. So when the sun dipped and the streets grew quiet, I walked back into that house, my prison, my stage. He was waiting, of course, sitting in the living room, calm, composed, a glass of wine in his hand. "I knew you would come back," he said smoothly. I forced myself to smile. "You said you'd show me who you really are?" His eyes gleamed. "And you're ready to see?" I nodded, though my insides twisted with terror. "Yes, no more games." He stood, pacing slowly, circling me like a predator. "I've given you everything, my time, my love, my protection. And still you doubt me. Still you run to them, the police, your friend. You betray me." I swallowed hard. "Because you scare me." He stopped, his head tilting. Then he laughed softly. "Good. Fear keeps you close. Fear keeps you mine." My pulse raced. The recorder in my pocket caught every word. "This was never about love, was it?" He smiled, sharp and cold. "Love? No. Love is weak. This is devotion. This is control. You are mine, and nothing will change that." I felt tears sting my eyes, but I forced the next words out. "And if I try to leave?" His voice dropped to a chilling whisper. "Then I'll make sure you can't, one way or another." That was it. The confession. My proof. I stepped back, pulling the recorder from my pocket, holding it up. "Say hello to the police." For the first time, his mask cracked. His eyes widened, his face twisting with fury. "What did you do?" "I'm done," I said, my voice shaking but strong. "You don't own me anymore." He lunged. I screamed, stumbling back as he grabbed for the recorder. We struggled, crashing into the table, knocking the glass to the floor. Shards cut into my hands, but I held on. "Give it to me," he roared. "No," I screamed. Suddenly, sirens. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. He froze, his grip faltering. Mia. She'd been listening the whole time. The door burst open. Officers swarmed in, weapons drawn. They pulled him off me, dragging him to the ground. He thrashed, shouting my name, his voice filled with rage and desperation. "She's mine. She's mine." But his words didn't matter anymore. They cuffed him, hauled him out, and just like that, the house fell silent. I sank to the floor, trembling, blood dripping from my hands, tears blurring my vision. Mia rushed in, wrapping her arms around me, whispering over and over, It's over. You're safe. You're safe. But I wasn't sure. Even after he was gone, even after the police assured me he'd face charges for stalking, breaking and entering, threats, I didn't feel safe. Because his words lingered. His shadow lingered. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard him whisper, "Not now, not ever." And I realized something terrifying. He might be behind bars, he might lose everything, but the part of me he broke, the part he twisted, reshaped, destroyed, that would never be the same. I survived, but I wasn't who I was anymore. That night, as I lay in Mia's guest room, staring at the ceiling, the truth settled in my chest like stone. The person I loved had turned into a stranger. And worse, he'd turned me into one too. That was the day I stopped recognizing who I was.